on farm water management, rainwater management, and development of water source in hilly areas. Thank you, sir.
Seeking that few chairs may be filled up, but anyhow, we will start with that. Whatever is there, this is almost the in itself. Most of you are already saturated fully with the knowledge and almost focus on noise beyond the saturation point. So I shall try to add only that much which you can still absorb or which you have, because you have filled both with knowledge and with the food also, can say. Heavy food and heavy, so stomach, mind, everything is full. So I need to give you just few things which you. Since we now understand the resource, the broader picture is how this resource can be managed. One of the main word over here in our conference is the management of the resource. Management is more than understanding the resource. It requires economics, it requires anthropology, it requires sociology, it requires so many other disciplines as well. So that why a particular nation or why a particular country is able to manage its resource, how it can produce more food, what are the other ingredients besides water which impinge upon it so that we have maximum utility of the resource which is available with us or with any country itself, especially the developing countries. My topic which I have been agreed to give is on water, energy, food nexus, regional interplays for food security and resource sustainability. Before I start my presentation, I shall like to make one or two hypotheses. Generally in India or say in whole of South Asia, it is, if you think the Mandarin sitting in New Delhi, they will say there is no need to develop water in the eastern region, there is a lot of water. Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, West Bengal, Assam, there is no need to develop water sources because they are already flooded with water, etc. So they have much more availability of water. That's why right from partition or before that, there has been very little development on water resources over here. This is one myth. Actually, the fact is, water is not available when it is just available. Water is available only when there is infrastructure so that farmers can use it when he wants it. He has sufficient energy to use it when most of the people are using groundwater, and he has all the other ingredients. So there is a whole lot of difference between just water availability and access to water availability or a useful access to resource availability. That has been one of the biggest myths. Second thing is, people generally understand or whatever thinking is, where there is water, there should be more rich people, because drought and other things are generally considered with scarcity, with poverty and other kind of things. But if you see the picture of India or whole of South Asia, the picture is paradoxically reverse. Wherever you have more water, there is more poverty, there is more illiteracy, there is less of production, there is more of migration, there is whole, if you take the nexus, starting even from Rajasthan can be given a little example, but say from Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, the water availability is much low, poverty is not there, almost 5%. If you take this region, it is full abundant with water. Water, the general poverty and other kind of thing is almost 40%, 40 to 45%, and all this is. So there is another major dimension, that how the management of resource that can make a difference, that people have to think differently. Just because the rain falls over here doesn't mean that people have access to water. Doesn't mean that people can irrigate when they want it. Doesn't mean that people can drink water what they can. There are maximum number of diseases and other kind of things are happening. So what are those kind of things which help us to understand things? Though there are so many factors, but I shall just include water and its linkage with energy and food. So though there can see other kind of things as well. Just or do this one?
Yes, sir.
This is next.
Yes.
Okay, this particular thing I shall not go too much. Dr. Rai wanted to show it, not saying numerical things, but fresh water is really a scarce resource on the earth, and its management demands intelligent solutions. that he has explained in figures, so I shall not go to it. What we started production in India, that we adopted a water-intensive food production system. Whole of water we have drawn out from Punjab, Haryana, West UP, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, and we have become food sufficient, food self-sufficient, and all the other regions. If you see over here, here is our maximum water development, and in this region, which has got all the water abundance, there is hardly any water structures or water infrastructure has been developed. Second thing is, over the years, which was initially, we spent a lot of money on public investment, on canals and other things, that has gone down quite a bit, and most of the water sources are today being developed through public, through private investment, through fuels and other kind of things, or through drips or other. Most of it is private investment, hardly any public investment going on. So if you see over here, this is our canal irrigation. In spite of PMKSY, more drop, per drop, the area under canal irrigation has gone down for the last 20 years or so. So if you see things, and it's the area of groundwater which farmers are paying their own money for drilling those tubes. Some farmers, especially in this region, they are using diesel pumps for taking out that water, and how this is our overall fragility of the food security system is based upon the private investment rather than the public investment. That's it. And second thing is, it is concentrated only in a small pocket of the entire country. We did a large analysis of the whole Indo-Gangetic basin, starting from Pakistan up to Bangladesh, and there is only 7% of the area, which consists of mostly northwestern Punjab and Pakistan and India also, which produces almost 65% of the food in this entire basin, and rest 93% produces just 35 to 40% of the food, due to low productivity, due to low other kinds of rice and wheat mainly. I am talking about those. So about 60% of region's irrigation water comes from groundwater, 160 gigawatt pumping capacity, and about 20% of energy is used in agriculture, majorly in pumping groundwater. And even if in the entire world we say, this picture is about India, and this is USA, China. In whole of world, we are using maximum amount of groundwater, which is 250 BCM, and all the countries of the world put together, even if you combine several countries, India's use of groundwater is much more than compared to other countries. And similarly, that's how you can say it was a condition in 2006 and 7, and how it has happened in 2013 and 14. But still, we are using so much of groundwater. The worrying part of it, how much we are generating from each cubic meter of water. That's another important thing to understand. Here, we are using groundwater only for poverty reduction. Our production through groundwater is only $300 to $500 per hectare. And the use per cubic meter is, if you will say Bangladesh is 0.2, Eastern India is $0.1, and if you say Nepal $0.2, Pakistan $0.4, Northwest India $0.5 per cubic meter of water. That's what we are producing. But if you see the other countries over here, groundwater for prosperous agriculture. People are depleting their aquifers, but they are producing much more. If you say Colombia, it's $5, South Africa, $1.7, even Sub-Saharan Africa, they are, you can say, producing more than $4 per cubic meter of water, and the groundwater prosperous agriculture, they are producing about $6,000 to $25,000 per hectare by using those very high value crops and other kind of crops, whereas we are producing only $300 to $500 per hectare, even by depleting. That's a major worrying part of it, that it's okay that we are sacrificing our resources, but what we are doing with those resources, and based on that, what are our policies, that how we can make good use of that. And what I wanted to say is that our energy and groundwater nexus means, you understand, generally we say that there is a nexus between Buddha and politicians, there can be nexus between teachers and students, there is always some kind of nexus. But how this our groundwater nexus is playing, that on one part we have a free or nominally priced farm water supply, There is hardly no price. Punjabi farmer doesn't pay any paisa for any power. Andhra farmer doesn't pay any paisa for any electricity, or say Telangana or so many countries. And all those areas which you see over red over here, they are electric to us. This is particular proportion. So we have depleted the entire aquifers in this particular portion. Where you have free electricity, we have so many electric tube wells, we have even the alluvial to Deccan Plateau, everything, whole groundwater has been depleted, has been taken away, and other kind of things. On the other part, we have this portion where this seminar is being organized. I just purposefully put it in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, West Bengal, and other kind of things. There is subsidized energy, there is some power, but there is no power. There is practically little power available, either it's unavailable or it's hardly available. There has been some improvements in the last few years, but still it's much less than what's required. Diesel pumps, they dominate groundwater, and a diesel pump irrigation is 6 to 7 times more costly than a free electricity farmer, which other farmer gets. That's why the farmers are not able to apply the amount of water, even when his rice crop is drying, even when his sugarcane crop is drying in kharif season, but he will just take out the tube and put it in the hut. There is no tube well placed in the field itself during entire kharif season, because he says, I can't irrigate with diesel pumps during this season, even if the crop requires. And once the rains are over, most of the fields, they become barren, or you can say they remain fallow, because he can't irrigate with diesel the type of crops which he is growing. And there are abundant aquifers. The water is here, energy is here. So that's the major divide. That's the major nexus which has been playing over the past, and what can be the kind of things you can say. So that's how the entire country has been divided between water availability and energy availability, poverty and prosperity, and those kind of things which I will not make very harsh comments, but this is the kind of general nexus which you can see over here, which has developed over here. So we started this research about 20 years back or 15 years back. Both Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Water, they are located in the same building in New Delhi, Sharma Shakti Bhavan, if you might have noticed. But there was hardly any talk between them. And when we told that due to wrong energy policies, we are desaturating half of India, and the other half of India is reeling under floods and reeling under things, and farmers don't have that kind of access to that water. They hardly believe. They say energy doesn't have anything to do with water, and we don't. Then we started doing that further research on this, and said that unless you have energy, you cannot use water, and unless you have both, you cannot produce food. So the entire thing based upon this thing, you can add other components of you can say agriculture, better varieties, fertilizer, pesticides, drip irrigation, everything can be added, but the basic thing has to be energy has to be provided, feed has to be there, and water has to be there. Then you can add on and make further things over there, and then we can achieve all the other kind of things. So in this kind of thing, if we improve agriculture water productivity and yields, then water and energy consumption and energy efficiency means we can reduce our water footprints if we improve agricultural productivity. On the other hand, if we provide subsidy, if we shift to more water intensive crops like rice in Punjab or sugarcane in Maharashtra, other kind of things, then we are just playing the other side of the story. That's the same kind of thing, that subsidy driven groundwater, just presented in a different style. And what has happened, that certain states, based on some of our research, some of good research which was done in West Bengal, some of in Gujarat and other kind of thing, some changes have happened. I can't say that major changes, but some changes have. West Bengal was one of the states which started metered pricing, and even day of time metering was also installed. All the meters in the rural areas and certain project areas, they were put, you can say, up the pole so that no farmer can touch it even. So time of day meeting was also there, and that you can say helped us something quite a bit. In certain states like Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, they started intelligent power supply. They will not say that farmers that we are not going to give you free supply, only reduce the number of hours of supply. Instead of supplying 24 hours or 12 hours, they started supplying only 6 hours or 7 hours. So that was some of the measures and other things which helped to produce something. But the perverse energy irrigation nexus at full play, we can say in some states, Rajasthan is one of them, Andhra, whole of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, all these states, the electricity is just free and there is no rationing. Telangana on its 16th birthday or 17th birthday announced that all the farmers will get 24/7 free electricity. And that's one of the most water deprived state in the country as such. Now they are again reviewing just after today's 18th or 17th, just after 17 days, they are reviewing that it's just taking out everything out of that and there is no electricity available. So what can be the possible measures? There can be some solutions. One of them is the improving irrigation water management through better canal water management, through certain things which we have shown, that use of space technology, ICT, precision irrigation method, drip and irrigation method, decision support system, innovative institution, smart low cost technology like wetting front end. So many things have happened which several of our presenters during the day have shown. I will not repeat, but this is one way that we can save on irrigation water, we can save on management. Jain irrigation also produced something or showed something, but this is all in Narmada Canal Rajasthan project where you can say entire thing about 40,000 acres. They are the canal under entire drip irrigation system and growing some very low water requiring crops like isbogol and other things which can produce good value, not just irrigating rice or irrigating taramira or something. So those crops which can produce high value, this can be another thing. The smart agriculture water management solutions for very small farmers, building resilience by enhancing storage, in situ surface groundwater, demand management through irrigation, efficient water productivity, laser land leveling, conjunctive use of good and poor quality water, crop diversification, positive governance. This can be something. Then sustainable water management, that's another kind of thing, that energy for water, and we need to apply. Bihar government sometime back, they gave those diesel subsidy coupons when there was a drought or something, so that we empower the farmers. There can be solutions. Bangladesh has got a very good solution that they provide cooperative fuels where the individual farmer, they can operate the pump through smart cards, just like our credit cards. You insert that card in the pump motor and then you can run it, you pay for it and then you can run your pump for as many hours. So there is no hardly any wastage of power or hardly any wastage of water as such. There can be community decentralized managed aquifer recharge. This is an example from Gujarat. I shall show you a little bit of it later, that how over the years the water tables they can be developed if the entire government machinery that goes for it can be programs like Narega, etc. We also did a new project I presented in Bangkok. I told something about it. It's called underground taming of floods for irrigation, especially in those areas which have got surplus water during rainy season and a groundwater deficit during the rabi season. Those farmers in those areas, these kind of UTFI technology which was started initially in Bangkok and Chao Phraya river basin and then extended to other places also throughout the world. We are trying in Africa also. So this is in Rampur and UP, Ramgunga sub-basin. We have tried and this is giving very good results. Water and energy savings with movements. And now for these areas, some of those capital intensive investments or things may not work, but very small things. This is a good example from Bihar, where you can see a portable pump and a portable solar panel, where farmers, you can say, they can just take it either on rent, they can take it or purchase where there is subsidy available, and even the women farmers, they are trained and they can irrigate small patches of land because the holding size are just as much as this diocese or as much as this entire auditorium is, you can say. This can be made use of these tenant collectives, voluntary consolidation, solar pumps. I shall come to it a little bit more. There is another resource this is wastewater, which we have talked quite a bit in the morning. I should not, but we have developed a technology which is called recycling and resource recovery and reuse, where both human and animal waste, they are converted into kind of fertilizers and then being used. This under the National Ganga Cleaning Mission, this is now again being tried, and we are working with the government of India. But these examples are mostly from Africa, and those guidelines which you were just asking, we have already formulated those guidelines for safe use of wastewater, which is slightly better than the WHO, especially for agriculture in other countries which are being used over here. So this is the complete package that from that human waste, for that to be converted into entire value chain, which can, you can say, and more than business model, 20 business models they have been developed, which in Moradabad, certain other cities which are along the Ganges bed, we are trying over there. Okay, so I shall just explain you one or few things. Some things you can say are point solutions, which can work on a small region. They may be successful or they may not be successful when extended to a large area. We need those kind of policy interventions, we need those kind of management options, which when scaled up through the entire state or at least to a large region, produce significant results, so that we can say that this is an impact. Our research in Gujarat state, they were also supplying electricity in certain, this happened during Narendra Modi when he was chief minister over there. That such showed, because each village, they were having just common electricity feeder point. The same electricity will go to the house and same will go to the farm. So if you cut the electricity, the housewives and everything, your entire vote bank is lost. But if you cut electricity to the farm, that's also a different thing. So the simple analysis was done that we separate the feeders from the domestic feeder to the rural feeder. So those feeders, they were distributed so that they can be managed much more efficiently. And if you synchronize the power supply with the crop water requirement, when the farmer needs water, how much the farmer needs water, supply electricity during those months, so that they can enhance and other kind of thing. So this Jyotirgram Yojana that became successful. The same thing which I showed, that under NREG and other kind of things, you say this was the basin, mega basin draining network, and if you see the number of check dams and other things built on it, that really produced this. Most of the diamond merchants, state government, everything, they put in everybody's money and they can say entire thing overchain. And this you can see, which I have shown you earlier, within a period of 10 years, there are hardly very few examples of that kind which have happened over here. Similarly, energy subsidies, can say they are provided. Now we are going after solar irrigation, which is a good thing, especially in these kind of areas where farmers, they can make use of both crops, they can be grown under the solar panels and other things. But if we also go on providing this subsidy free or to a very large extent, the same thing can happen, which happened sometime back over there. So what we again, Prime Minister recently inaugurated is called a solar pump irrigators cooperative, where farmers have those pumps, have those solar panels, they use it when they need electricity, but they sell it to the government when they have free electricity. So they have made an arrangement where those points are made, they can hook up to the main line, and where they are metered, so they gave the money back from the government. So that kind of example which saves both electricity and groundwater. So those kind of good examples have happened, and this you can say that all these changes are being made. This is the example from solar pump irrigators cooperative Bhundi village. This was very recently in the news, but this is now being extended to several other kind of things. And this is based on IMI's work over there, and power buyback, say where the farmers are purchasing back. So these kind of grid connected solar pumps, they can really help us. This is a practical way to address water, energy, food nexus, is to connect solar pumps to the grid, net meter them, and offer irrigators a long-term buyback contract for surplus solar energy. This is clean, and this is everything. So these are similar. This example is from Bihar again, and can be extended. We recently had a meeting with the Chief Minister over here also, presented some of these studies, and they also feel quite interested in this kind of work. This you can see that this is happening in energy scarce area. Agrivoltaic is similarly another kind of good example. And so these are some of our initiatives or outcomes of which you can say they created a good impact, like Jyotirgram Yojana separate feeders. In West Bengal, IMI research showed that earlier the farmers, they had to take, even for a 3 horsepower pump or 5 horsepower pump, you have to take a permission from the groundwater board or something, so only before that. But now considering the research, we showed that the small farmers should be liberalized, and there was a change in the groundwater rule, Groundwater Management Act in West Bengal, which helped with that. And in Punjab, we consider that Prevention of Subsoil Water Act, that delayed rice transplanting, that earlier it used to be in very high summer, now there is a government act legislation that no farmer should start producing rice before 15th of June, which has been extended to Haryana as well and certain other states. So these, some of those policy initiatives, they can be really used. So these are some of the takeaway messages from this thing, the same thing which I presented. So this can really help in achieving even our SDGs and also improve the productivity and mediate this water energy food nexus, which has created some sort of very distortion of the kind of things and help. Thank you very much. Yeah, please.
Sir, in the state of Chhattisgarh, so government has given free solar pumps, right? So now neither farmer has to purchase a diesel,
Yeah.
nor he has to pay the electricity bill, and he can operate and exploit fully as in what is ground. So what is your,
So that was the solution for if government also agrees to the second solution, that whenever he has free electricity, he can sell it back to the government.
that is there.
Yeah.
That is there.
So then you can say, then he will not be pulling out groundwater, he will be simply producing electricity and selling it back. At that time, so he will use groundwater because he is getting now money back out of the electricity which he is producing. So once you get the money, then you will use groundwater only when it is required, and or maximum you can sell it to your neighbor who doesn't have that kind of access, which is called. But comparatively, Jharkhand is a much better indoor state. It has got 1100 millimeter rainfall, except the plateau topography and other kind of things where groundwater is really deep. But in other valley areas and other kind of areas where groundwater, because I am also associated with the National Aquifer Mapping of the entire country, Jharkhand is a much better indoor state, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha. So here, right now, there are seasonal depressions in groundwater, but there is no continuous decline in groundwater. There are seasonal depressions. So in one season, the water table will go down, next season it will again come up. Next season, so these are more of the kind of fluctuation rather than a continuous decline which has happened in Punjab.
In Jharkhand state, sir, there are few cities where the groundwater exploitation is even more than
cities, because cities are point centers. Cities are urban centers, they become the real point source of exploitation, where a very large population is sitting on a very small piece of land. There you need to augment from surface water resources and other kind of resources, and that's possible. I'm just talking about agricultural fields.
Yes, but there are some districts where still we can tap the groundwater. So my question is that what is your say on groundwater bill? Is it necessary, or how the state should go for it?
Our general take on it is the groundwater, wherever it is within the sustainable limits, it definitely should be exploited. And those states, especially which has been historically neglected, especially the eastern part of it, it starts from eastern UP to further on. These states have been historically neglected from the mainstream development. It may be a little too much, but they now need to be given support in those kind of things, that just because everybody has overexploited Punjab, Haryana, that kind of the kind of horror or terror should not be shown over that those same kind of things will happen over here as well, because they are having only 600 millimeter rainfall with 200 cropping intensity. We are having 1150 millimeter rainfall with 130% cropping intensity. how much land we have got. Our overall area of cropping is maybe only 40% or 50%. The rest of all it is forest. It's all catchment. It's all everything agriculture. Where you have almost 78% is cultivated area, and only 22% or less than that is the urban area and the catchments. Here our catchments are so huge, and our user is much smaller.
Sir,
Yeah, please.
we have made mandatory for all urban houses.
Yeah.
You have to be with roof water harvesting.
Yeah.
Still water table every year is declining by minimum 1 meter
Where?
in urban areas. Even you can say in Ranchi also. Many areas, many kilometers if you travel, then you won't be able to get where is the water table. Every year it is declining. By open wells, I have studied this. But sir, where this water is going, nobody knows.
Everybody knows because it's the human consumption, it's the industrial consumption, it's the all the other consumption for energy, for mining, for everybody is knowing that where this
No
water
sir, in urban areas we are sucking it and we are pouring it again into the ground.
Yeah.
But where it is going?
But overall,
We can think 10% or 20% it is evaporating.
but most of
Losses are there.
other
But
factors,
where is the 80%?
where is the 80%? Because these areas, if you understand the hydrogeology, which Dr. Rai can explain little better, because earlier in this area, water is mostly held in the upper fractured pores or something. There is no aquifer available over here. Once to pump out even the storage capacity of the other thing is only 10%, 15%, 20%. If you take out a very small amount of water, the water table will fall by 2 meters, 3 meters. Earlier because there was no population, even in other areas, aquifer, most of the UP and other part, even if you take out water, the storage capacity and other things, specific capacity, they are so high that the water table fall will be very slow, and here the water table immediately falls because the water is held just in pores and other kind of things. So for especially the city centers, you have to use both surface and groundwater. Just if you depend only on groundwater, the decline cannot be avoided.
So actually, I have to add here. Please.
Sir, we are having our records since 1976 till now, pre and post monsoon data of this Jharkhand area for groundwater. I will repeat that in groundwater.
Yeah, please.
As I have studied since last 4 years, there are many states which are having perennial rivers, and Jharkhand is lacking perennial rivers
Yeah, that's
because Ganga is just touching Sahagar and going.
Yeah.
And those perennial rivers are also very useful for recharging.
Yeah, that's right.
We are lacking that, hence only rainwater harvesting is the single source of water which we can recharge, and then aquifer water level we may increase. As I have studied since last 4 year data, I have given so many literatures also on that. It is going down. This Kanki zone was in overexploited area, and nowadays it is free of that. Many zones are semi-critical. Kodda is overexploited. Then people are doing so many multi-story buildings are being made, and they all are just extracting water. Just in flat in which I am living, I have seen that all of a sudden the first aquifer, the boring was failed. Because then we have to go, we are compelled to go deep boring. But this is not the final solution, because gradually in Jharkhand, population is badly increasing in geometric progression. In cities, people are coming from village side for their livelihood, and hence water utilization is being more and more. As we are knowing by national water policy, that drinking water is number one. Nobody can prevent anybody. But what is 27, 10-story buildings are made? They are having so many extracting borings, but our MCD and other, they are not making any compulsion that they will have to go for rainwater harvesting, which is the single source.
Yeah, yes.
If single source of water, no perennial river, by which some
Yes, one more point.
charge will be done. It's a great challenge.
We need to conduct this
Okay,
session as well,
sir.
particularly.
Sorry, I could, this is a challenge for us.
Actually, sir, this is the data from the State Groundwater Board.
Yeah.
That the total rainfall which is occurring on the Jharkhand state, 62% of the water is going to Bihar due to the geological.
The water doesn't know where Jharkhand ends and where Bihar starts.
Yes, exactly. So what we need to do, we need to develop some recharging technique.
Yeah, that's right.
Rainfall occurring on the Jharkhand should be retained here. So that is not happening. So that's why in some of the pockets.
So I shall just end this thing just with a little specific philosophical note that governments are and societies are generally weak and they act only when they are forced to act. Here the tipping point has not yet reached. We are approaching to a tipping point. The other governments, they will start acting because we are accelerating the solution. We are creating the problem higher. And once it becomes really, because a policeman will catch a thief only when he is caught catching, stealing something. Otherwise everybody knows that he is a thief. Nobody will catch him. That's the habit. The governments are generally weak in doing the operations and they act only when they are forced to act. So these things, we are reaching to those tipping points, but the experience of research and experience of all your kind of thing is to forewarn them that these people have done, where we can act, where we cannot act. Thank you very much.